Hi, friends. Welcome to the Mastermind Moments podcast.
Hosted by your pals, Josh and Sasha.
Join us during our weekly mastermind as we collaborate on how to make the most out of our lives.
Not only are we going to mastermind our careers, we're going to work on all areas of life together.
Let's do it. Listen in as we make the most of our mastermind moments.
Hello, happy launch day.
Happy launch day. How exciting.
I know, I'm so excited. It's been months in the making. Well, this episode is going to come out in March or April, but for us today, it is launch day. We're launching the podcast
I think
today.
it's so funny that we've recorded so many episodes and only just launching. I mean, it's a good thing, but I just think we're so back in time.
Yeah, and it's going to be funny when people are listening to them and being like, wait, Josh's birthday's in August, but this is happening in December or January.
It will
What's
probably be my
happening?
next birthday by the time that episode comes out.
Basically, but it's good. I mean, even if the times are a little off, oh well, people can still listen to us and hopefully enjoy. So,
Yeah,
I mean, we're still having some technical issues, but it's fine.
it's okay. We'll iron them out. It's early days in the launch, and these things are gonna happen. So
Better done than perfect.
yeah, exactly. We've had good feedback already. I posted the link an hour ago. I started posting it on social media, and I just had a message from someone who I think I've spoken to twice in my whole life, and he just messaged me and said, well, it was a long message, but the one excerpt that I've taken away that I'm gonna use for the rest of my life is he said, "Your voices are perfect to listen to while I'm trying to comb through Excel spreadsheets."
Oh my God.
He said so soothing, so I'll take that as a compliment.
Honestly, I think so. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's why people listen to the first episode we ever recorded together is because your voice is so nice to listen to.
Right, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Not because we say anything profound. It's
No, it's
because
just like you could just listen to it as like white noise in the background.
yeah, exactly. And that's what we're here for. People want to improve their lives, they want to improve their lives, but if they just want some friends to hang out with them while they comb through Excel spreadsheets, amazing. I'm really excited for the launch, and I think in today's episode we'll definitely be setting some intentions for launching our business and we'll get into it. But before we get into anything, let's spin a wheel. Okay, the question is fun and recreation. How do you incorporate fun into your daily routine? What do you think?
Fun, I think, is my number one. It has been for quite a long time now. I'd say over the last couple of years, it's been quite comfortably my number one category. Just because I'm always out socializing, partying, having a good time. And for me, I think I've basically spoken about this before when answering other spinning the wheel questions, in that I just make time for it. I just ensure that when I finish work, I leave work behind. And I make sure that every day at the end of the day, I'm going out and I'm doing something fun. I'm doing something memorable to remember. I want good memories. I want lots of good memories. And I actually had a thought. It's really interesting that this question has just come up, because I had a thought a couple of days ago about it's really important to give yourself something to look forward to, right? To have something fun in your diary that you're like, God, I'm so excited for that. But the problem with that is that you do that, and then the thing comes and it goes and then it's done. That
Yeah.
fun thing that you had to look forward to is now in the past. So why we shouldn't give ourselves something to look forward to. Instead, we should be just living our lives like that constant. Every day should be something to look forward to. I'm not sure how you feel about that.
I agree with you. I feel like there's a way to do both because I am someone I do need something to look forward to always, or else I just lose my mind. But then at the same time, it's like how can you incorporate fun? Like how can you make how can you make random things fun? Like how can you make things that are not fun fun? Like household chores or doing your work, or how can you make everything more enjoyable, even if it's just elevating a little bit, even if that just means putting on music in the background or whatever that looks like. I think there's a way to definitely do both for sure. As far as how I incorporate fun into my daily routine, it's my answer 3 weeks ago would be very different from my answer now. My answer 3 weeks ago would be like, I always prioritize adding some play into my day, so basically hitting the pool every day for a little bit, but my life is drastically changing, and that's not gonna be a part of my life for at least the next year. So and after that, who knows? It's very possible, but it might not be at the same time, so who knows? But, yeah, that's for right now, how I'm incorporating fun is enjoying watching because it's cold right now where I am. I'm at my mom's house in New Jersey, and it's Thanksgiving tomorrow, and I'm just watching content that makes me happy. Honestly, I've just been binging Call Her Daddy, the podcast. Shout out. Fucking love her. I love Call Her Daddy. It's like a huge inspiration to me. So I've just been binging that to catch up with where she's at right now. And that's how I've been incorporating fun. I also fall asleep to Gilmore Girls every day, but I don't think that's fun. I think that's me having a coping mechanism because, yeah, I've been waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning every single day. Thankfully, I'm able to go back to sleep, but I'm going to sleep early in order to account for the fact that I'm waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Why do you think you're waking so early?
I think it's my body is in shock of my breakup.
Yeah.
I'm waking up and at night, like I'm waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning thinking about my breakup, thinking about like logistics, thinking it just, it's or my body just like doesn't, it's in shock. So it's still every day since I've been waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, but I've been still getting enough sleep because I'm going to bed earlier to account for that. But it's a lot.
And you're waking
So
up and staying up? You're getting at it?
no, I'm going back to sleep. It takes me some time. Sometimes I'm tossing and turning for a bit, or sometimes I just put Gilmore Girls back on. I've seen this show so many times that for me, it's like white noise in the background and it distracts my brain enough where I'm not spiraling in my head, but it's not too in my face because I've seen it so many times that I'm not distracted and wanting to stay up to figure out what happens because I know what happens. Um, so that's how I've been doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that sounds like it's a comfort show.
It really is. And I think everyone has that comfort thing. It could be a show, could be food, could be a whatever, but everyone has like something that they lean on for comfort, you
Yeah.
know?
I think you're right. Is that most of the time it probably is a TV show or food. Literally, things that people turn to that feel warm and comfortable when they're not in a great sort of mindset. I think everyone has a comfort TV show, right? I mean, I think for a lot of people, it is Gilmore Girls. I know that for both my sisters,
It's Friends.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I think Friends, but also for both of them, they both love Gilmore Girls. So when it's really cold and they're the middle of winter and it's dark and they're always watching.
Yeah. It's definitely huge. It's always been a comfort show for me, always. So I've been leaning on that a lot in the it's been 10 days since the breakup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how are you doing generally? What are you experiencing?
A lot. A lot. I'm going through a lot of grief right now, and I feel really sad a lot, and it's like it comes in waves. I feel really sad, I feel angry sometimes, I feel anxious, sometimes I feel relief, sometimes I feel excitement for what's coming. The waves are really big and really close together, and that's something we talked about last week. This past weekend I was basically sitting in like a huge I was also PMSing. It was that time of the month for me to also be very emotional, which um there were a lot of tears over the weekend, a lot of tears. And I went to get a massage and energy work done and the chiropractor a couple days ago, and that helped a lot. I think the energy work and the massage and the chiropractor helped a lot to align everything. And since then, I haven't been I'm still feeling really sad because I didn't want it to end. I didn't want the relationship to end. I was very happy. I didn't want my life to end. I was very happy and I didn't want it to, but it had to. And I'm not on the podcast. I'm not going to get into what happened or how everything went down. It was definitely a mutual decision, but I didn't want it to end at all. And my mom actually said something to me I don't know when, a couple days ago, that it really stuck with me. She's like, "The universe and life just picked you up by the scruff of your neck and just said, 'You need to be in a new life,' and threw me into a new life
Yeah.
quite suddenly and quite out of nowhere." So, for right now, I'm, like, letting myself feel the feelings. I'm letting myself feel sad and angry and anxious and all of that, and, questioning, like, why this had to happen, and just being really sad about it, and really just, like, sitting in the grief of it all, because I know that once my next chapter starts with the traveling and with the, my digital nomad year, that's when the growth will happen, and I'll probably feel much better once that growth starts to happen. But for right now, I'm, like, really just sitting in this grief.
Yeah. Which is completely understandable. I've said this to you quite a lot over the last week. It's still so fresh. What, half? Is it about a week and a half? And so,
It's been 10 days since we officially split up. Um, and it's been 20 days since the initial, um that we had 10 days. We were in the process of splitting up. We were in the process of deciding if we wanted to stay together for 10 days, and then we've been broken up for 10 days.
yeah. So it's still so incredibly fresh. You've had a huge, I guess one way of putting it is 50% of your life taken away from you. It was a large part of your life for the last 7 years or so. And it's going to take time. You're not going to be feeling perfect less than 2 weeks later. It's a process, and grief, breakups, it takes time. It takes time.
Yeah.
Of course, the longer it is, the bigger the connection, the harder it is. But I mean, I can already see, I know we haven't been speaking constantly, and so I don't see how you are throughout the day. But compared to where you were even 10 days ago, I can see a difference already in the way you're speaking, in the way you're talking about things. I think also back then it was maybe hard to see so far into the future. But once you are past this initial month or so, potentially more, as people always say, there's no timeline for grief. Everyone deals with it in a different way and in different timelines. But you'll get so much better with, and there will be so much growth in so many areas of your life. And I keep saying this to you. I know you know as well, and it's hard to see at times, but I'm excited for you. Not that I'm not happy that you've had this breakup and had this life event, but I just think that it is going to be good in the long run. I think it's going to be possibly even better for you than the relationship. And I think it's what you
Yeah.
needed. Maybe it is what you needed right now. And I love what your mum said about taking you away from that life and just throwing you into a new one. The universe felt that it was time for that to happen. And I love to think like that. I'm a big believer in things happen for a reason. And when the time is right, it's right. So it's difficult right now because it's so fresh, but it's actually going to be a very exciting journey.
I think so. I think so. I mean, right now, I know it's gonna suck for a while. I know that I have to go through the emotions of grieving the end of the relationship that I was very happy in, grieving the life that we planned together. Like, we sat down and planned out our entire lives, and I'm grieving that, and I'm also grieving the end of my life in Miami that I was finally happy in. I mean, it took me 2 years, and it might have been one of our episodes right before the breakup where I was saying that I was finally feeling good in my life there, and now I'm grieving all 3 of those things. It's 3 family members just died very suddenly, and it's like grieving the loss of all of those. And I know right now it sucks, and I know right now I'm supposed to be feeling the emotions. Like, I have to feel how shitty this feels. I have to, like, process through the emotions, because if I'm suppressing them, like, it's just gonna come up later. It's just gonna be show up in unhealthy ways later. Right now, just really allowing myself to wallow. And that, if anyone's watched Gilmore Girls, that episode season 1 where it's like, Lorelai's, "You need to wallow, you need to sit and cry and watch sad movies and eat pizza and just whatever." I am allowing myself to wallow right now and just be sad, and I know that I'll probably start feeling much better once I start my travels, and I have booked my first leg. I got a crazy deal
Okay.
on a flight. So, this is gonna come out in a couple months, so I don't feel bad sharing what's gonna be happening because by the time that this comes out, I will be somewhere different. But so essentially, I'm gonna be here in my childhood home until, the day after Thanksgiving. I'm gonna be in Miami for 2 weeks enjoying Miami, Art Basel, everything. I'm gonna come back to my hometown for 2 more weeks for the holidays, and then I am going to Australia.
Oh my god,
Yeah, a whole month.
that's fucking sick.
Yeah, for a whole month. So I booked my flight. I got a $500 flight. I'm gonna be there
Wow.
I'm gonna be there for New Year's, spending it with our gal pal Heather. I'm gonna be seeing Craig. I'm gonna be seeing a lot of honestly, just so many friends and family in Australia that I haven't seen our pal Craig, and I know we talked about him on the podcast. I haven't seen our pal Craig in a decade. And his sister Heather is also like the most beautiful person on the planet. I haven't seen her in a long time either. Just like a bunch of friends. And that's what this is. I'm traveling the world and I'm visiting all of the loved ones I have everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that. And then basically my travels are planned up until mid-February, end of February, honestly, almost to early March. It's not, like, fully planned yet, and that's the thing about what else is going on is that, yes, I'm dealing with the grief, but the amount of logistics I have to deal with, not only just moving out of Miami and figuring out all of the, like, unmerging lives logistics, but the logistics about next year, the logistics about just everything, like, having to plan it all is a lot, but it's honestly a very good distraction, plus, like, we launched this podcast today. It's my busiest season at work, like, ever during the year right now, so the amount of stuff I'm dealing with is a good distraction, it's keeping me busy, but I'm still allowing myself to just, like, feel the feelings and move my body and everything, but I'd say as far as Wheel of Life goes, which is, what we always chat about, right now, I'd say the 2 areas that are or the areas that's really struggling, obviously, is my romances has gone to a big fat 0. A big fat 0, and it was like so that's really tough, and I feel very sad about that, and, my physical environment has also in some ways has decreased a lot because I was very happy in Miami, and now I've gone to a 1 or 2, but then I know once I start traveling, that's gonna probably bop up to a 10. But I'd say as far as my intentions go, and I'm sure we're gonna talk about this probably more towards the new year and, setting intentions for the new year, but my focus for next year this past year, I've been focusing on my career and my health, and I really killed it in both of those areas this year. I got promoted at my job, I launched 2 new podcasts, I got back into shape, I lost all the weight, fit back into my clothes, like, I really focused on those areas this year, and I really thrived, and next year, what I'd really like to focus on are my fun and my personal growth. And those are the 2 areas and those are 2 areas I feel like typically people don't focus on them, but gonna be my 2 areas of focus for the next year. And I just think inherently what I'm doing is gonna help me get there basically. And inherently it's going to happen. So I don't know. It's going through a lot right now, but yes, I'm very sad that this ended. And yes, I'm really grieving and I'm heartbroken. I'm truly heartbroken. I really thought I was gonna be with that person forever. We had plans to be together for until we dropped dead. So I'm really sad about that, but it's okay. I'm surrendering to the experience. Like the universe wanted a different life for me. I was like literally picked up out of my life and just whoop, like plopped into a new life and just surrendering to the experience of okay, like there's something different meant for me. And it's not to say that I can't go back to Miami and if you're meant to be with somebody, you're going to be with somebody in the future. It's just now is not the time, which is really sad because I really thought it was. And it's like I keep saying that I didn't want this to happen. Like I did not want this to end. I did not want any of it to end, but it had to. And it's a lot. I'm going through a lot right now, but it's definitely my growth is going to be exponential from this. I think
Yeah.
the business is going to explode, my personal growth, my fun. Just honestly, I think every area of life and the areas I want to say that are working really well right now, because I know I talked about what I want to focus on, but the areas that are working really well right now are my friends and family have really, I've, I have not felt so loved by friends and family my whole life. Like the amount of people that are reaching out to me and just like checking in on me and calling me and texting me. Like I don't feel lonely. Like I don't feel lonely at all. Like I feel really supported by loved ones. And even the fact that I'm going to be traveling all over the world visiting loved ones everywhere, I feel really blessed to be really like supported by loved ones, and that area is going really great right now. And also I'd say the career is still going great. Thankfully my work is really on, they're so flexible with me and they're the most amazing company ever, and they're allowing me to just do this and process through, and also launching this podcast, and my personal podcast is doing really well. And um but those two areas are going really well right now. I'm just it's a big transition time for sure for me.
Of course, glad that there are still things going well. Acknowledge that as well. I think that's really important, and it's also really important. Glad, because I said this early on. I think I said this even before possibly it happened, discussing. The growth that you will see is going to be enormous. I'm so glad that you can see that. I think you really struggle to see that. It's hard to break past the initial hurt and heartbreak. So it sounds like you are in a, I don't want to say a positive headspace because it's not positive clearly, but you are in a healthy headspace. You are letting yourself process through these emotions. You acknowledge the good things that are happening in life, and you're choosing to be grateful for those. And that's so important in a time like this, in a time of distress and heartbreak, struggle. It's so important to be able to focus and be grateful for the good things and the
Yeah.
things where you do still see growth and you still do see positivity and things. So I'm really glad that you are in that headspace.
Yeah, completely. And I do find myself in, it's really interesting that I can analyze the thoughts like this, but I do find myself in some disempowering thought patterns around why, what specifically what happened around the breakup, and specifically around how things ended. I find myself in a lot of disempowering thoughts about it. And I catch myself in it. I'm like, oh, well, I did XYZ. Why was it not enough? And then it's just stuff like that. And again, I'm not going to get into specifics about what happened, at least not publicly, but obviously everything that's been happening. And I'll find myself in those disempowering thought patterns, so focused on the other person as opposed to me and everything like that. And I was in therapy, and my therapist was saying, he's like, yeah, you were happy, but you sacrificed a lot to be happy. And it's like almost having to, I've had for the last however many years, I put so much emphasis on how the other person is doing or what I can do for the other person, but not any emphasis on me and what I needed and what I wanted. And I find myself still getting caught up in that pattern of really focusing on the other person. And I know that's going to go away eventually, especially as I am starting to see personal growth as soon as I'm starting to travel and like really just immerse myself in the growth I'm experiencing. But for right now, like I still am getting caught up in these like unhealthy thought patterns.
Yeah, which has been,
Yeah.
you've got to allow that to happen. And it does happen in the early days. But you eventually will train your brain to deal with that better, and also just to reframe these different things. And it's so easy to think that way when you go through a breakup. So easy. And
Yeah.
even it's going to happen. You have to allow that. One thing I did want to say, I mean, it's in relation to what you just said about
Yeah.
there was a generally healthy relationship, right? As your therapist said, there were a lot of things that you were being held back from doing. And I almost saw it as, when you first told me about the break, as a limit in a way, like something that's like muffling. What's it called when you put something on a gun to make it sound quieter? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like the sound
Okay.
reducer or whatever. My
I
point
have no idea what
is,
you're talking about.
no, okay, but my point is that you have so much ambition and so many different things you want to do with your life, especially at young age in our 20s. There's so much you wanted to do that you couldn't do for various different reasons, because he didn't agree with it, or he didn't necessarily want you to do certain things, or he wouldn't get involved with it. And so it held you back. You felt bad about doing certain things as well, which now it feels like that limiter on the gun has been taken off. And you can just fire away with full volume, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting for sure. I was definitely, and one of the things that made me come to the realization that I needed to go and I needed to be done was I was staying in a situation that where I was dimming my shine, and I was staying in a situation that where I was limiting my own growth and making myself smaller, and that's just not fair to me. It's not fair to put yourself in a situation where you're limiting your own growth for something. So that's where I was getting stuck in it all, and it's I can choose to something in Tony Robbins that we were talking about, or something that Tony was talking about, is like your top 6 human needs. And I think we might have talked about this last week. And if we did, and if you've listened before, then I apologize. But my top 2 human needs were definitely love and connection and certainty. And I wanted to change them to love and connection and growth, and I was like, okay, if I had to make decisions out of this framework, what would that be? That was the decision I chose to be done. It's okay. Well, now that I've chosen growth, yes, this is painful, but you can't have growth without pain. They say no pain, no gains. Like, it's a cliche for a reason. If the pain is any indicator of the growth, then my growth is going to be like a millionfold, because this pain is excruciating. And I know that time is the only thing that's going to heal this, but going through the time right now sucks.
Yeah.
It really sucks.
But you have to go through pain.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like seek discomfort is something that we really are passionate about. It's a brand and a company and a mission that we're very passionate about. Shout out Yes Theory, but the discomfort of all of this is the most far thing outside of my comfort zone that I ever could have imagined, really. Ever. So just like throwing myself into the deep end of my discomfort zone and seeing what happens. So that's where I'm at right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I think you're in a good path. I think you're on a good path, and it's going to be a very windy, bendy, hilly path to start with. But eventually it will start to smooth out. It will start to get clearer, and the views from the end of the path are going to be sensational. Going to be beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And the path it's taking me all over.
exactly, and literally to Australia. So
Yeah,
when are you
literally
going?
to Australia.
So soon. Wow.
Yeah, I'll be there. So in a month, I leave in a month. I'll be there for about a month, hitting New Zealand, and then I'll be back in the States for February and March. And then I don't know where I'm going after that, but I'm planning on getting my rhinoplasty next year, so I'm not planning too far out in advance, just so I can plan around that surgery. And yes, I know, for everybody listening, I don't need a nose job, I know, but I've wanted one forever. And if we're doing stuff for our personal growth, then this is what I want to do. So
It's going to be incredible. Absolutely incredible, especially seeing old friends. I told you that I saw Heather in the summer, and how she just I didn't know she was going to be there. Bella knew she was going to be there, but I didn't know. She tapped me on the back. I was like, she'll probably describe the face that I made, because she kept laughing about it, saying my jaw was actually on the floor.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see our loved ones that we haven't seen in a really long time. I love them so much. And there are other people from the Tony Robbins world that I've met. Oh no, even like friends of family. Like my dad's best friend is living in New Zealand, so I get to go visit him. I haven't seen him since I was just like a lot of friends and family out there. Like a girl I met on my solo trip in Fiji. Like I'm actually visiting her,
Nice.
So yeah, just like a bunch of people out there. And I feel like it's a good way to ease into the crazy year, because it's English speaking, it's summer. I'm freaking cold. Since I've landed in the Northeast, however many days ago, 2.5 weeks ago, I've been cold. I've been cold. I'm tired of being cold. I need to be warm.
I know the feeling, especially having been in Miami for as long as you have. It's I guess a bit of a shock to the system. Is it at least sunny there? Do you get sun, or is it mostly cloudy?
It's sunny. Today's sunny, but it varies per day. Like yesterday was pretty gloomy and rainy. Today is sunny. We'll see. We'll see what else happens with it. But
because for me, I wake up at 8 in the morning. Sorry, not 6:06, but I wake up at 8 in the morning, right? And it's light. There should be sunlight coming in, but I have to turn my light on to give ample light, and then I have it on throughout the whole day because there is not enough sunlight in the UK it's just depressing. It's so depressing. But, it is what it is. Unfortunately, it's part and parcel of living in London.
Yeah, it is a part of living in London. How are you doing?
Can I just say one more thing before we
Yeah,
move on to me?
please.
You look great.
Please.
Have you done your
Thank
hair
you.
or something?
I did. I got it all cut off last night.
Okay. I thought
It was
so.
like down to my waist.
Was it really?
Pretty
It was that
much.
long?
About a little, maybe a little shorter than that, but it was long.
Wow.
I cut a lot of my hair off last night.
Well, it suits you.
Yeah, well, breakup haircut. It's part of it's like a rite of passage. Have to chop off have to do something drastic with your hair whenever you go through a
Right.
breakup. It's
Yeah.
like the law.
At least you
And also
didn't.
you hold a lot of energy in your hair too. So
Really?
it's good to just yeah, I think
That's
so.
interesting. Because over the last couple of years, for a lot of hair changes, blonde, ginger,
Mhm.
bald, and I feel like every time I chop it all off, there is definitely a shift in you feel different. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it's almost like a physical representation of change. Like you can feel that you're changing as a person, but then when you make some sort of physical change, you you actually can physically see it in the mirror that you're a different person. And I think the rhinoplasty also is going to be a part of that. Someone told me I was talking to a girlfriend and she said that in I don't know which culture it was, she says, but in some sort of I don't know if it's an Asian culture or whatever. She said there's a saying that when you change your face, you change your future. And I'm like, well, if there's any year to do it, it's this year
Yeah,
cuz like if there's any time to change my future, it's now. So,
absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Good timing. Because you
good
were always planning
timing.
on your anyway, right?
I was going to do it this past year, but I spent
Yeah.
all my nose job money on Fiji. I was like, I can get a nose job anytime, but I need to go to Fiji right now
Yeah,
to yeah.
exactly.
Oh my god, you wanna hear a crazy thing,
Go
though?
on.
Okay. So we've talked about this a lot in previous episodes on the launch episode of my personal podcast that one of the best decisions I ever made was to go to Coachella. Um, like, years back when I was in a previous relationship, that's where I realized I needed to leave my previous relationship, all of that because the reason I decided to go to Coachella back in the day was because Lady Gaga joined the lineup. Have you seen the Coachella lineup this year?
I have. Yeah. And you told me that Lady Gaga is performing.
That's not a coincidence. Like, that
No,
is not a
no,
coincidence
true.
that Gaga is on the lineup this year again.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
if that's not a sign from the universe, I don't know what is.
No, exactly. There's plenty of signs. There's plenty.
Yeah, there really are. Anyway, so we've talked about me for a long time. How are you doing?
I am good. Good. Generally speaking, I've been doing pretty well. My mental health has been great. I just felt very grounded recently. I think it helps that I haven't been drinking for the last couple of weeks. I've just gone completely sober again, the millionth time, but I'm really planning on sticking to it this time because I notice that every time I do it and every time I go on a prolonged sobriety break, I feel great. I don't feel anxiety. I don't feel particularly stressed. I don't feel low. Mood is much more stable. It's like a natural mood stabilizer instead of taking SSRIs or whatever. I'm not saying that's the solution, but I'm saying it's definitely helped me. So yeah, generally speaking, I've been pretty good. I had a series of unfortunate events that happened yesterday, which kind of threw me off balance. I just felt really ungrounded, off center. That wasn't very nice. I'm not sure how much to get into, to be honest, but I basically I was meant to be going to Malta last Friday, and I woke up at 2 a.m., which was when I was meant to be leaving for my flight. And this was 2 a.m. last Friday, and I woke up and I was like, I don't want to go by myself. Because originally the plan was that I was going to go with Savita, but she couldn't get a visa in time, so it was going to be a solo trip. And I was just like, I know that if I go, I'm going to feel really lonely, and I feel like I'm in quite a vulnerable place right now. From a mental health perspective, even though I'm doing well, it could be easily thrown off kilter. And I don't want that to happen, so I'd rather stay and make plans here just to have a relaxing weekend to myself, partying, no major socializing, just a chill weekend. So I filled out my weekend with nice, wholesome stuff. I went to visit my dad on the East Coast here in England. It's about 2-3 hour drive away. Spent a couple of days there, which was really nice. It's just nice to escape London. And I took every time I go outside of London, so to like the countryside, I know that I'm going to have a lot of reflection time. So I tried to bring a journal, and this time I brought my manifesto so that I could just read over it like it's a Bible, which is the whole intention behind it. No, I haven't been sticking to it recently, so I really wanted to get back onto that. So I took it with me, and I thought I'll make some extra notes in here just as and what comes into my mind. And the first thing I noticed on the first day is that I spent hours and hours scrolling on Instagram. And out of all of my addictions, you can debate all you like about whether social media is an addiction, but it is. It's just like
It is.
gambling. It fucks your
Yeah.
brain, and there's science behind it that shows how your brain lights up. And it's comparable to gambling. It's comparable even to a heroin opiate addiction. It does the same thing to your brain. And of course, these apps are designed to you and get you addicted, right?
Yeah.
That's how they make their money. I read, I think it was Logan Paul. I hate to quote Logan Paul, but it was him that said it, that attention is the modern currency.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure that's commonly said, but I definitely heard
It's
Logan
a common
Paul say
said
it.
thing. Yeah,
So
yeah,
let's not give
yeah.
credit to Logan. Anyway, sorry, Logan, if you're listening. So I wanted to counter that, and I was like, how practically can I get over this? Because I've managed to counter all of the other sort of major vices in my life: gambling, porn, alcohol, drugs. I'm still drinking and doing drugs every now and then, but mostly I'm doing my best to stay away from it. I'm doing pretty well with that compared to how I was doing earlier in the year. The one thing
Right.
I just cannot get over is Instagram and scrolling through reels. And now that we're launching the Instagram, I was like, I can't delete my Instagram because I need to be plugging. I need to be promoting. And most of our followers so far have come through doing. So how do I do it? There must be another way. And the conclusion I came to is to limit myself to scrolling. I'm allowed to scroll, but only when I'm on the toilet. Right? And I know it sounds funny. I knew you were going to laugh at that. I know it sounds funny. But honestly, think
No,
about
it's funny
this.
because that's when I do my scrolling too.
Really? But do you only scroll on the toilet?
Pretty much.
Okay, so now I know if you send me a reel, I know what you're doing.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I mean, to be honest with you, like my phone is blowing up constantly, especially after this whole thing. If you're getting a response from me, I mean, honestly, I've been responding other places, but the toilet really, I mean, is when I do a lot of my good responding. It's when but like, yeah, the scrolling I only do on the toilet,
Okay,
basically.
that's good to
Yeah.
know. So, great minds think alike.
Also, you might want to like throw a book in your bathroom. That might help.
Okay, so the problem with that's a good idea, but there is a problem with that because I still feel that I'll need to go on Instagram. I need to have my fix, right? And I can't, this actually sounds terrible. Saying this out loud sounds really bad. Like
Just say it so we can
no, as
really,
in what I just said, like getting my
yeah,
fix.
I need to have my fix.
And that sounds that's a problem.
Yeah.
Ooh. But it's worked. Okay, so let me just give you an idea. On Friday, I think my screen time was 8 hours.
Oh my
Disgusting.
God.
Disgusting.
That's horrible.
8 hours. I never have 8 hours. I think my average is probably about four to 5 usually. And most of that is Instagram. And I looked back over the days over the last 3 weeks, and I was probably averaging 2 hours on Instagram each day. Purely scrolling. Well, maybe half an hour to post stuff on the podcast Instagram, but that's about it. So every day about 2 hours. Now my screen time, I think yesterday, the last 2 days, it hasn't gone over 3 hours. And on Instagram, I've spent no more than 20 minutes. So that gives you an idea of how long I spent on the toilet, for anyone who was wondering. But I don't go to the toilet that often, right? And so I know that if I limit myself to that, I have to go on Instagram to check my DMs because I get loads of friends who send me reels. I want to do a little bit of scrolling, not just through Instagram, but through Reddit as well, just to get some news and information, whatever. And if I limit that to the toilet, my brain is not going to rot like it does when I sit at my desk scrolling all day.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I mean,
It's complete sense.
I know
It makes
it's not
sense.
a fix for an addiction, but I think it's a step in the right direction.
in the right direction. It
And
really is.
I think I'm already making progress on it. And occasionally, like there's been a couple of times over the last few days where I've caught myself on Instagram, like three reels deep, and I'm like, no, this is for the toilet. I don't need the toilet. So I think that is a good early fix to start with, and then we'll see where it develops. And maybe it could get to a point where I just cut it out completely. I don't scroll. I just do the DMs, and then I put a book. And my plan actually is to put a bookshelf in the toilet. So I'm going to have loads of books there to choose from.
Amazing, like a library bathroom.
Exactly. Because I don't have space in my room at the moment. They're just cluttered up. Bless you. But yeah, I think it's a good idea. So weaning off it, because I think just going cold turkey is very difficult unless I'm just going to delete Instagram, which I can't do.
Which you can't do. Yeah. So another, and again, I think let's see how it goes this week with just limiting yourself to the toilet, which is going to be so freaking funny. The fact that we're talking about this is hilarious, first of all. And second of all, let's see how it goes this week. And then there are other tools too. I know there are apps you can download that will literally lock certain apps after a certain amount of time.
Yeah, well, this is something I saw yesterday, actually, just looking at my screen time and analyzing different things yesterday on my phone. I saw that you can actually do it with the Apple operating system. You can set
Yeah, I have that for
you
me.
can set a limit, right? So if
Yep,
I
I
wanted to
have.
spend 20 minutes on Instagram, I can set that limit. The problem with doing that is that I do need to be on Instagram for the pods, and sometimes that's going to take longer than 20 minutes in a day. So I can't really do that.
Yeah, I mean, I have that set up for myself, and I think I have it set up for 30 minutes. And there are certain days I do a lot of my editing for my first podcast on Instagram. And there are days where I have to spend hours on it editing on Instagram. So, but for the most part, and sometimes I'll be like, oh, scroll or 15 more minutes. And then I'm just doing that. But it definitely makes you more aware. And it does help. It does help to have like that little thing pop up and be like 5 more minutes on Instagram for today.
Yeah, so that's a potential fix as well. Yeah, it's a potential fix, bless you. I also, another kind of fix, or not fix, but it's just another way of looking at it is, again, I've read so many times over the last year or so in particular, use social media, don't let social media use you. Again, if
I said that to you.
not what
I said that to you on our launch episode for my podcast. Do you use social media or does social media use you?
yeah, right, okay. But you definitely stole it from someone, so
Ah,
shit.
it's very
No,
possible.
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely. Listen,
I
I
said that
hear
to
all these
you.
quotes. I'm like, it could be
You
you.
hear all the
It could be
quotes and you're like, it's Logan Paul.
Yeah.
It's me. It's me.
Okay, all right, okay. Sorry, I'll give you full credit. You can edit that how you want. Yeah. So, but then the other part of that is if social media is the modern. Sorry, not social media. If attention is the modern currency, how can I be using that to my advantage? And I've been thinking about side hustles and whatever. And now I've, of course, committed to my job. I'm really very much head in the game. I'm about to do this huge deal, which is why I wasn't sure if I could make it today, because I've never had so much admin to do in my life. But it's going to be a record breaking deal for the company by a long way, by over £1 million. So it's huge. So anyway, I'm committed to my job, but I still want to have other things going. I still want passive streams of income and potentially something I could move to eventually once it's big enough. Now, I started thinking about social media and thinking about what I'm good at, right? And I thought about this over the years, and I've considered starting YouTube channels. Instagram is something that is easy to learn if you really put your head into it and you really actually put time into it. So I think with the podcast is really actually getting to grips with how can I grow this Instagram. We spoke about this with Steph last week about how I can improve the quality, how I can improve the aesthetic of our Instagram, the podcast Instagram. And as a result, how I can grow. So listen, by the time this episode comes out, we'll have thousands of followers. I'm manifesting.
You're right.
I'm manifesting. So no, I really want to focus on that and actually really improving my skills with social media, not just Instagram. I think the TikTok as well, YouTube Shorts. I really want to learn on how to grow. But then a side thing on that is actually setting up my personal. Obviously, like you've got yours sort of personal podcast. I don't want a personal podcast per se, but I think what I really want to do is I'm very good at writing. I've always been told my whole life I'm a good writer.
It's a words of affirmation thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's an interesting. Yeah.
That's
Never
why
thought
you
about
like
that.
writing so much and
Yeah.
why you're good at it. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Okay. Well, I'm good with words, right? And I've always been told that, but I've never known how to use it to my advantage. So back in the day, you probably remember this, I was thinking about being a sports journalist, following in the footsteps of my granddad. And that was my dream. And I really tried to do that because I thought that's how I can put my writing skills to good use. But then something that I've thought about in more recent years, and I actually spent £2,000 on a new laptop in January this year because I thought, yeah, I'm going to set up a YouTube channel. I need a good laptop in order to make that happen. But I never did it. I never took action. I came across this guy on Instagram you've probably seen before, also called Josh. And he just does these motivational talks, right? He talks to the camera very passionately. He's written out this script that he's obviously remembered or he's got it there in the background. And he just talks so authentically and inspirationally. And he's so good at it. He's so good at what he does. And I watched that and I was like, this is what I should be doing. This kind of thing. And this kind of content is what my feed, I've tailored my algorithm now. So when I say I scroll for hours, I'm not just scrolling mindlessly. I'm not scrolling through brain rot. It is mindless, but it's not brain rot. It's a lot of inspirational stuff. I see it all the time, and the stuff, it goes viral. It helps people. It's helped me. You know, I love the stuff that comes up on feed because it really does impact the way I think.
Yeah.
I want to start doing that. I want to start writing scripts, writing things, motivational, inspirational things that I can start talking to a camera about and posting on Instagram. And again, really trying to figure out a way to grow not just the podcast brand, but my own personal brand. I think that's, honestly, I thought about this the weekend when I was with my dad's and I was noting things down, and it just gave me this fire in my belly, like this excitement that I haven't felt about anything in years since I wanted to become a primary school teacher. I'm joking, that didn't give me a fire.
That's so funny to me. And the episode that came out today was about that.
Of course, yeah. I was actually planning on, I've listened to it when we first sent it to me, but I was going to listen to it with Savita properly later. Obviously, she hasn't heard it, so I thought it'd be nice just to sit down and listen.
Yeah, I gotta listen to it today too, because it's been a lot. I haven't listened to it since I edited it in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I've listened to a lot of the episodes in bits because I like clip, so I jump through them and I clip through them, but in full, I haven't listened to this one since you sent it to me. So, but anyway, just to finish that sort of tangent, I am really excited about this potential opportunity that I've given myself just to really focus on social media and see where that could lead me. It's just going to be a hobby. It's just going to be for fun and to grow a skill initially and then where it could lead.
I think also like a tactical thing is when you're scrolling on your toilet. Also something to do with that is not just to do it passive, like not to scroll passively, but to scroll actively. So have your notes app on your phone too. And if there's content that's particularly entertaining to you or inspiring to you, go into your notes app and then take notes on what about it is inspiring to you. What about it captured your attention? What about it was entertaining? What do you see? Almost like the content and not viewing it from a consumer perspective, but viewing it as a creator perspective and be like, what can I learn from this content based on my experience as a consumer, and almost study it. And that's what I do with, and we've talked about this, there are, for me, I'd say 2 to 5 people on social media that I actively look at. Like I'll actually search their name and look at what they're doing. And part of it is as a consumer, but the other part of it is what about, like, I'm studying this content. Like, what about this is so interesting to me as a consumer that I can implement in my own business and my own content. It's like studying it almost and being an active consumer as opposed to a passive consumer.
Sorry, I just had this weird head rush. Like I was about to pass out just then. Jesus Christ. Anyway.
Are you okay? What? Your face is really red too.
Oh my god, yeah, what? It wasn't like that
was
before,
out of nowhere.
Right?
No, it was not like that 2 seconds ago.
Oh.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm
Was it what I
fine.
said just so profound that
Apparently,
you
yeah. Honestly, that felt like I just took a hit of laughing gas or something. That was really weird.
did
Anyway,
it what?
moving on.
What?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. God, I've really gone red. I'm gonna
Yeah,
turn
like,
down the
very out
brightness so
of
you can't
nowhere.
see that.
What do you mean? It's so funny. Oh my goodness. Yeah, what happened?
I don't know.
Very
I
weird.
don't know. Anyway, yeah. Oh, well, that leads me on to physical health.
Oh, well, for real. Yeah, but for real, I mean, when you're just be actively scrolling instead of passively scrolling, and then also start I mean, I know you're very committed to your job at this point, but I do encourage you to start doing the 606 again because it's gonna give you the time.
Well, absolutely. And I think I came up with this whole idea and I wrote it down in my manifesto as well. As I put the heading of like 2025 intentions or something. And I wrote down those 2 points about our podcast and about setting up Instagram or sorting out Instagram for both of them. And I was like, right, I'm going to start the moment I get back. Tomorrow I'm going to wake up at 6:06 and that's going to be, I'll have the time to work on this. And it didn't happen. And a couple of days now and it hasn't happened. So yeah, I know that if I wake up earlier, I will get that time back that I don't get during the day. I feel so rushed during the day at the moment. I think with work, it's insanely busy, but I'm also pouring everything into it. And it's not just with work. I have obviously the podcast as well, where I'm trying to focus on the Instagram. And there are other things while also trying to have fun at the end of my day. Just going back to the first thing we spoke about on this episode.
Mhm.
I'm trying to balance so many different things. I just don't have the time in the day. If I woke up literally a couple of hours earlier, I'm still getting probably 7, most of the time 8 hours sleep, which is enough. Even if I wake up at 6:06, so there's no problem. I'm getting enough sleep. I just need to stop being so. It's laziness. It is pure laziness. That's all it is.
Yeah, and we talked about what you need to do is just plug your phone in on the other side of the room. So rude, Josh. Just plug your phone in on the other side of the room, put away from your bed, and we talked about that. It was the one thing that, like, really helped. So just it's a very simple habit switch, I think.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I agree. And I did try to do that. But what I found is I get out of bed, I put the alarm on, and I stand there for a few minutes. And I'm like, and it's actually funny. Well, it's not funny. It's quite sad. But I was, Savita was staying at mine on Thursday night. So the night before I was meant to be going to the airport. And she was just going to head to work from mine, let herself out after I'd left the airport. And she heard my alarm go off at 2 a.m. And she saw me sit up, turn the alarm off, sit there literally for a minute, clearly pondering whether or not to go, and then just go back to sleep. And that is exactly, she saw firsthand front row seats to what happens at 6:06 in the morning. I literally get up, I look at the alarm and I just go back to bed. I think about it. I'm like, is it worth it? And I'm like, I decide in that moment I'd rather bed, which is awful. It's awful. I know.
Yeah,
And
we
yeah, keep shaking your head because it's terrible. It's terrible. And I know, listen, I've said this so many times. I know what needs to change. I'm the only person that can change it. I know
Yeah.
what I need to do to be happy and successful, and I'm holding myself back.
You are, and it's like, I hate to call you out, but I have to because that's what our friendship is and that's what this podcast is, but it's a different month, same shit. Like, you keep saying, "I know what I have to do. I know what I have to do. I just have to do it." And then you don't do it.
Right?
And there are some times when you actually do it. Like, for the social media with the podcast, like, it finally got to a point where, like, okay, I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
or with
again, like the
work,
social media is
you
a
know?
prime example of where it took too long. It took too long to get to that point where I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to do this. I mean, there were other reasons for that. You had these mental blocks, but still,
But I
it
think
was,
even with
yeah.
these other habits you know that you need to do and you're still not doing, it's the same thing. It's like there is this resistance here between, like, you know what you need to do, but it takes you a really long time to actually take the action. And what is that?
I think what's held me back from the 6:06, waking up early, is not having a plan. Like I wake up and I stand there and I think about, okay, what am I going to do? Is it worth it? And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll go for a run maybe, but it's really cold and wet outside. Fancy that. So what am I going to do? I don't have anything to work on. Whereas now I've written down 3 different projects. First one is the podcast social media. Second one is personal brand social media. And the third one, which I didn't mention just now, is I want to write a book. Obviously I've written it already, but I want to write a real long, serious book. I mean, not to say my other book wasn't serious, but about my gambling and about my story. I think we've discussed how Bella has written the
Yes.
movie about my story, and she's taken it to LA with her. She's pitching it to all these producers, and that's probably going to end up going somewhere. But I want to write to get the full story out there.
Okay.
I think it's such an interesting story, and so there's 3 projects that I have to work on. They're 3 exciting projects.
hmm
That should give me enough fire in my belly to wake up early.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And then with your physical health in there too, I think it's really good. And I know we talked about like you joining a run club or something to help with that. But there are definitely tools in place for you to do it. Like, even if I know there are alarm clocks that wake you up with light. So it's not like it's
Yeah.
dark, like it wakes you up, like stuff like that. Like there are tools that you can use to make it easier for yourself.
hmm
But at the end of the day, it's like, you know what you need to do. You just need to do it. And like I see you get caught up in this cycle again and again. And it's like a pattern that you have. And I don't know where this pattern comes from, but it's something really to think about, or not even think about. It's something to really, I guess, think about, but digest and figure out, okay, this is a pattern of mine. How can I stop this pattern? Because I think it's holding you back for a lot of things in life.
Yeah,
A lot.
I agree. I wholeheartedly
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, and it has to change.
It has to
I
change.
think that's something
When
I've
would
said.
now be a good time to change that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Is social media
Can you tell I
using
just went
you,
to a
or is
Tony Robbins event?
that's the other thing. I think I said this to you possibly last week, but I'm desperate to go to a Tony event. It's been so
Yeah.
long since I went, and I think at this stage in my life where I'm kind of at a crossroads, but I'm at a place where I need to be pushing myself for growth, and I'm really focused on growth. I'm really constantly thinking about ways that I can better myself. But I really think Tony would be just the perfect for it. I wish
Yeah.
I'd gone last week, but there'll be other opportunities.
I think so. And just, I mean, take a look at the schedule and see, because also I might join you.
Yeah, I did, and he's doing less. He's doing much less than he used
He's doing
to.
much
I
less, so
mean, it
now
makes
is the
sense 'cause he's
time.
old, but still.
Now's the time. I mean, I'm for sure going to do Date with Destiny in 2025, but now is the time because he's really slowing down a
Yeah.
lot. I mean, you could even see with the UPW, like he slowed down a
Really?
lot. Yeah. Yeah, a lot. So also something well, actually, this is how I wanted to end the episode today is I want to set some like intentions and manifestations because we're launching our business today officially to friends and family, and I want to set some intentions and manifestations for that. And I guess we can just go back and forth rapid fire, but one that just came to mind is you and I being able to go to business mastery for this and
Oh my
have it
God,
be
yes.
a business expense.
That is fucking sick.
Making enough from this podcast for it to send us to Date with Destiny in order to grow this business. So that's one manifestation intention
Yes.
I have. Your turn.
Yes. Oh God, okay. God, how can I top that? Is
Well, just rapid fire, just like
for,
different
honestly,
intention
I think
manifestations.
for me, I think I just want to help people. Honestly, with me, it'd be nice if this goes somewhere. It'd be nice if we make a success of this and we get lots of people listening and viewing, yes. But for me, I just want, if someone listens to an episode and they take one thing from it that they can use to impact their life, that's my job done. That's what I wanted.
So for you, it's like testimonials.
Testimonials, yes, yeah, testimonials of course are nice, and see, we spoke about how you've been getting testimonials as well, and it's a nice feeling. But for me, it's just, even if you don't even necessarily get the testimonial, people just go away and they've taken something, a quote or a mindset or something from the episode.
I guess the reason I said testimonial is because you say that and I'm like, well, how would you know?
Right.
And for me, that's what a testimonial means, is like is someone telling us like, hey, you impacted my life in this way.
That's a fair point. I mean, for me, like, obviously you've spoken about your sort of experience with listening to podcasts. For me, my life changed completely when I started listening to a guy called Cameron Rosen. I'm not sure if you've heard of him, but he was all over my TikTok a couple of years ago, and his whole thing was about neuroplasticity and spirituality, and honestly, like, I implemented so much of what he talked about in my early days of recovery, and it completely changed my life, completely. And
Mm.
so that's the kind of thing. But I did actually reach out to him. I messaged him and told him. So I did, I guess, give a testimony. But that's the kind of thing that I want. That's the kind of impact that I want.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'd say another intention I have is, I mean, the thing about this podcast that feels so special and magical is because it doesn't really feel like work. Like we get on the phone. I get to get on the phone once a week with my best friend, talk about our goals, talk about where we're going in life, what's going well, what's not going well, and literally mastermind our lives together. So an intention for me is for both of us to go and continue to mastermind and continue to achieve our dreams and our goals in our personal lives and have those changes reflect the growth within this business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, see, we had a way of communicating before, voice messages, and that worked for us for a long time. It still does work, of course. But I
Yeah.
think this has added another dimension to our friendship as well. I feel closer to you than I ever have as a friend, and I think that's really nice. And I think I just want to keep that going more than anything, really.
Yeah, and that's another intention too is to not I mean, I've had very bad experiences about starting a business with a friend in the past. I don't know if I've talked about it publicly here before, but I have had that experience before, and maybe in another episode I'll actually tell the whole story, but for us to another intention I have for this is for us to allow this to bring us closer in friendship and not to or allow this business to bring our friendship closer together, which so far it has and to also maintain our friendship outside of this podcast, which I think we have too, which is basically like when we record our episode, it's things that we would talk about normally, but things that we can discuss publicly. And then our other weekend voice messages are for more private things that, like very deep, intimate things that we don't want to share publicly. And sometimes we talk about the business on those voice messages as well, but having that separation is really nice and maintaining that and allowing our business relationship and our friendship to grow.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I don't, obviously, you haven't got into what happened with your former business partner, but I don't think it will ever get to, I mean, it won't get to that, because I think even if it got close to that, we would probably be mature enough to figure out a way. I mean, I would hope that it never gets to that point, but I think if it ever came close, I value our friendship more than a
Yeah, me
business,
too.
right? And
Yeah.
so I don't see any occasion where that might come up, where that might flag up, but I just think we would probably just be mature enough to go our separate ways from a business perspective if it came to that point, and focus more on our friendship.
Yeah, completely. But that's the nice thing about a podcast is that it's quite literally like my work with this podcast is producing it and editing it and then doing all the admin work on the back end, which I already do for my first podcast. So it's just like adding more work, but it's very not easy, but it's extra work. But it's for the most part where we overlap is when we talk,
Yeah,
which is what
right.
we do best
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But do you have any other intentions, manifestations that you'd like?
Not really. I mean, I mentioned earlier about growing the social media, and I think it's going to be really important. It's going to be really amazing, not just important, but amazing to use this as an opportunity to grow that skill.
Mhm.
But also just to grow the social media. I want to grow this and get things out there so that people can hear what we're talking about, hear our messages.
Yeah. Yeah. Hear the profound shit that we say sometimes. And then sometimes when we say nonsense.
I'd say that
Are you going to go see Adam and Mary for
I am.
Thanksgiving?
I'm seeing them tomorrow. Yeah,
Mm,
I'm bringing a mashed potato dish.
will you please FaceTime me when you're with
Yeah.
them? Because I'll be home all day just hanging with my family. So I'd really love to be.
Yeah, so we've got this, well, I think there's like 7 or 8 people coming. Sabrina, remember Sabrina?
Yeah.
She's,
Well, I've heard about her. I don't remember her. Yeah. Yeah. FaceTime me while you're there because I want to say hey. And happy launch day.
happy launch day.
We did it.
We did it. Yeah, it took time to get to launch, but good things take time.
I don't even know how long we've been working on this. It's been,
I
I
mean,
think this is
this is episode 7.
17? I don't know. I have no idea. I'm the one editing, but I cannot remember. I haven't edited the last like 4 episodes yet. Because these aren't coming out until March, so I have time.
Exactly.
But it's also hasn't been like top of my priority like the other distribution has been. But yeah, it's taken us a long time, but we're here and I'm excited. And for everyone listening who has made it to this episode and has been with us for this journey, or if you're just tuning in now, thank you so much. And if we have, going along with Josh's intention, if we have impacted your life in any way, if there's something that we said that really stuck out to you, or if there's something that you want us to podcast about, if you want us to mastermind something with you, please let us know. Where can you find us, Josh?
Social media.
I know. What's the social media? What's the
Oh,
handle?
what's that? I thought you were asking me to list all the social medias at once. It's mastermind_moments.
On Instagram.
Yeah, on Instagram, and yeah, will soon to be, by the time this comes out, TikTok as well.
Okay, amazing. Well, we love you guys. Thank you for coming along on this journey with us. Happy launch day. We love you guys so much, and we'll see you next week on the Mastermind Moments podcast.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and follow along on social media.
If you would like us to help you mastermind something in your life, please send us a message.
We'll see you next week on the Mastermind Moments podcast.